start. I'm Hannah Birdsong. I'm the program manager for the Small Business Development Center in Southwest Colorado.
And I'm Keith. I'm the disaster recovery coordinator for Southwest Colorado.
And we just wanted to come today to answer some questions about the Energize Colorado Gap Fund. So we have Brian Rose with us from Region 9 to answer those questions.
Great, thanks for having me. Hello everybody, Brian Rose, Deputy Director with Region 9.
Awesome, so we will get started. What is Energize Colorado and how was it started?
Yeah, Energize Colorado is a nonprofit that was formed to help manage some of the CARES Act funding that will be coming to the state of Colorado. Energize Colorado is a nonprofit. They are comprised of employees from the Flux Corporation, CHAFA, which is also the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, as well as the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, otherwise known as OEDIT. The representatives for Colorado passed House Bill SB 20-2222, which provided $20 million for funding to help small businesses within the state of Colorado. There's an additional $5 million that they were able to raise and leverage as well, bringing their total funding available to businesses in Colorado to $25 million. Region 9 was selected as the primary lender to help distribute those funds in Southwest Colorado. First Southwest Bank is also helping, and during the application process, you have the ability to choose whether or not to work with First Southwest if you have a relationship with them or with us here at Region 9.
What type of funding is available for businesses through Energize Colorado?
Yeah, the program is set up to have a maximum of $35,000 in funding per business. That can be broken down into a maximum grant amount of $15,000 and a maximum loan amount of $20,000 to come up with the 35. The funding is going to be broken down into 3 or 4 tranches over the next couple of months. That will allow the state time to review the applications and make sure that we're having really strong coverage across the whole state with those funds and across a number of industries. A business can apply for one or the other, just the grant or the loan, or a combination of the two. If a business is unsuccessful in the first round, they do have the ability to continue to apply for those later tranches. We will be working with those clients. There's a scoring rubrics, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, which will help raise the strongest candidates and the greatest need to the top. And we're going to start with funding those businesses and then continue to move on down the line. So if a business just misses the first tranche, they may be eligible to get funding in the second tranche, and we'll be there to work with the businesses through the process.
Okay. So kind of like unlike PPP, where it was the first that applied really got the money, this is meant to be more equally distributed, and those with the greatest need will kind of rise to the top. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think, there was some lessons learned in PPP. The state could have a better impact with a little bit of thought versus first come, first serve. And I think that's what they're attempting to do to preserve as many jobs as possible.
Great. And then who, as in what businesses, are eligible to apply?
Yeah, the program is intended to help businesses that are registered within the state of Colorado and that have 25 or less employees. It can be a for-profit business or a non-for-profit business, including 501c6s, which were previously excluded from eligibility in the PPP program. There's a couple of rules around that where these funds can't be used for lobbying activities, which some 501c6s do. But as long as the expenses are, the nonprofit is doing some sort of economic development within their mission or their programs, then they could be eligible to apply as well. There's a strong focus within the program to help support women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, indigenous-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses. So some of those businesses will receive some higher scoring to help their chances of receiving those funds. They're specifically looking to push a large percentage of this funding into communities that have 50,000 or less employees. So a strong rural focus, which will help us here in Southwest Colorado. And then there's extra scoring for those businesses that did not receive any kind of previous support through the CARES Act. Like I mentioned, it is expected to be a little bit competitive. So they developed a rubrics scoring method, which they haven't shared with us yet. I expect that'll be coming out here soon. And what they're going to be looking at primarily is, can the business prove that there was a loss of revenue due to a mandatory shutdown, loss of revenue due to a voluntary shutdown, see my notes, or a loss of revenue due to decreased customer demand, which we see in the tourism industry. And then if there's been some increased costs related to dealing with COVID, those are the type of expenses that they're looking at to help support our small businesses. Let's see here. I know they have earmarked about 20% of the funds to go specifically to the tourism industry, and they've defined that as hotels and motels, any business that kind of provides support or directly related in the ski industry. Outdoor rec businesses are specifically called out as a priority, or destination marketing companies who were impacted by kind of the border closures, if you will. So those are kind of who would be eligible and what kind of expenses the program will be reviewing and looking at for eligibility.
Great. Can you talk to us a little bit about the terms of the loans and also the terms of the grants, if there are any?
Sure. So the loans are intended to have no payments for the first 6 months. Hopefully that allows enough time to deal with some of the reduced business cash flow and kind of get things back on track. Then the loan will go to a 1% interest rate for the first year, and then 1.5% for year 2 and the subsequent years after that. So the loan shouldn't exceed 1.5% interest rate. There's no prepayment penalty on the loans. The first year, after the first 6 months, then my understanding is it's going to be 6 months of interest only, and then convert to either a 2 to 3 year amortization, depending on the loan size and the business capacity. With the grants, like I mentioned, they're expecting to decision those kind of on a monthly basis between now and the end of the year. My understanding is the grants would probably be funded within a couple of days after that decision. I believe the only terms or requirements of the grant is that there's just some receipts that are provided to kind of support where the expenditures actually went for the file. So all of the $25 million that's been allocated is expected to be approved and dispersed by December 31st. So it's a short time frame, and the goal is to get the money in play right away. We can approve loans up to December 30th, and if it takes a little while longer than that for them to get the money in play, then that's okay, as long as we get it approved and all the funds allocated by the end of the year. And I think that's all that I have at this time on the terms.
And then what are the businesses allowed to use these funds for?
Yeah, the intent is pretty similar to the PPP program, where the state would like to continue to encourage businesses to cover their payroll costs, including hazard pay or premium pay. If a business has had to pay their employees a little extra to get them to come back, or if they're a little bit higher risk, and that extra pay and premium pay is eligible. Like PPP, rent can be used. Some equipment purchases are allowed within the program. You can use it on retraining employees if the job they had prior to COVID doesn't exist because of reduced staffing. You can use those types of costs. And then it is allowed to cover some working capital needs due to the reduced revenue and that many of our businesses are experiencing now.
Great. So you let us know that the application will most likely open in the next 7 to 10 days. What is needed for the application process so that businesses can kind of get ready for that?
Yeah, the group is delayed just a little bit. They've been targeting August 1st, like you mentioned, but it sounds like they're delayed about 7 to 10 days to launch. The application will be submitted through Flux Corporation. They've created an online portal, and the list of all the items that should be needed should be listed on that website. So it should be pretty clear. But to start working ahead for business owners, I would recommend getting year-to-date financial statements finalized, completed, accurate and clean, again, and be able to compare them to last year. Again, the loss of revenues this year is one of the targets they want to look at. So making sure you have those. Typically, tax returns are required. And one big piece to this program is going to be a narrative that'll have to be provided to explain what those impacts of COVID has been for your business, how you're pivoting or moving during this time, and how those funds will help you move forward and continue to stay in business and continue to keep your employees working. The receipts for expenses, things like that may be required. It should be a little bit less than a traditional commercial loan application for those folks who have applied for those loans, but a lot of the same things would be required. There will be, right now, somebody can sign up to receive some email updates through the Energize Colorado website, which is just energizecolorado.com. The Gap Fund tab is where you can sign up to receive updates so that you're aware when the program goes live and you can start applying. My staff and myself are happy to answer any questions as well. My email address is Brian, BRIAN, @scan.org, or you can reach out to Jenny at scan.org as well. Our office number is 970-247-9621 if you want to give us a buzz, and we can help walk you through some of those questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us this morning to answer some of those questions. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to Brian or our office. We're located here in Durango, but we serve Southwest Colorado. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll send out more information as soon as we get it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me share this opportunity.
Thank you.